Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Iowa State-Kansas State halftime report. My God, this game is sloppy. This game is super sloppy. Like, these teams are expected to be teams that are playing for the Big 12 championship. I just do not see it as of right now, but this also kind of ties into what I say will happen for the rest of the season. But before we get into it, like and subscribe, help, a comment always helps. Please comment anything. Helps with the algorithm. But anyways, let's get straight into this thing. Halftime score, 7-7. Pooper, absolute pooper. And there is a lot of talking points. And this time, I actually wrote down notes because there's only one game on right now. Don't got to flip between a bunch of channels. You get a lot of stuff. You get to take away a lot more things when you're just watching one game. It's a lot easier. Think I might do this more often with certain games that I pick throughout the week. It'll just be weird, but because it's a lot more difficult with multiple games being played that you have to keep track of. I don't have the ability to rewatch the games until like the hours later when it's posted on YouTube. So, let's get into all the mistakes that I have written down here. To start the game, you had a muffed punt by Kansas State by Dylan Edwards, who is actually a dog. So in my prediction video, I said Kansas State lost their running backs. They lost a running back. This dude is still goated, but unfortunately, he muffed a punt, and then he got hurt on the very next play. And dude, just head coach for Kansas State, just straight up said it in that little halftime report interview. He said that Dylan Edwards is out for the game. He's not coming back. So Kansas State's running game is down pretty good. Not crazy, but pretty good. That hasn't really stopped them, though. But anyways, Kansas State muffed a punt to start the game. Iowa State looked like they were going to get the momentum shift. And on the 1-yard line, they decide to pull a Texas and go for a pitch play. Keep in mind, this game is torrential downpour for some of the game, and then not some of the game. It's on and off rain, but the field is super wet, and the ball is wet. And when they pitched this, it was absolutely pouring. Ball went straight through the Iowa State player's hands. Kansas State collapses on it. Just hand the ball off and run it up the middle. It's second and goal. You've got plenty of plays. Even if you don't get it, kick your damn three. You're right there. Points are given to you. Don't run a fucking pitch play. Are you kidding me? They ran a pitch play. They fumble it. 2 mistakes right off the bat by both of these teams. About exactly how I expected it to go. As the game continues, Kansas State starts to drive, and he tries to do a fake handoff and roll, and he drops the ball on the ground. Thankfully, he managed to pick it up, but he threw it away. Barely out of the pocket and barely got it across the line of scrimmage, and he got drilled on the play. Foreshadowing of what would happen later in the first half, but this one he got away with it. He then, we'll get to the pros in a bit. Now, as we go on, I think it's pronounced Rocco Becht. We'll just call him Rocco Becht for the sake of, the video. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Rocco Becht is in the pocket, and they design a good blitz on, or a good pressure on him. He gets drilled, and he fumbles the ball. Then, right after Kansas State decides to go for it on fourth down, which already it required a fourth down to get their points in general, they go for it again on another fourth down after being handed a given and an opportunity to go up 3. They decide to go for it, and they get stuffed by Iowa State on a run play, which, as we'll get into later, Iowa State has not done very good in that category. And then, so Iowa State obviously doesn't do much with the drive. They have to punt. Kansas State is starting to drive. Boom. Fumble by the running back, Joe Jackson, who has been one of the running backs that has been in for most of the game. Fumble, Iowa State gets the ball back. Iowa State tries to use this to convert it to points. 49-yarder, it's a far one, but the snap was kind of bad, and he hit it far right. No good. And then Kansas State, right before halftime, is starting to have a good drive. They're getting good passes. Avery Johnson is actually starting to move. And what does he do? Pressure, throws the ball away. Not enough. He throws it past the line of scrimmage, but he's not out of the pocket. Intentional grounding, loss of down, loss of 30 seconds. He proceeds to then overthrow his target, which almost led in an interception. Then they go with a swing pass, screen pass sort of thing, and gets drilled in the backfield. Kansas State is now pushed out of field goal range and is forced to punt, which leads you to the 7-7 score. That is all the mistakes. If you heard me right, there is a total of 6 turnovers if you count the missed field goal. 6 turnovers. This is why I picked Iowa State to win this game. This is not telling of how Kansas State will play the rest of the year. Kansas State's defense looks really good right now. Iowa State's pass defense looks really good, I will say. Both of these teams, had their moments of slip-ups. Mainly, I would say Iowa State way more than Kansas State. But just the mistakes, endless mistakes by both ends of the field are leading this to seem like both of these defenses are just elite right now. It's really not that case. Kansas State's defense is better than Iowa State's defense from what I've seen so far, in my opinion. But both teams are just turning the ball over. Both teams can't score points. The drives, in terms of offense, Iowa State's drive looked more impressive than Kansas State's drive. Kansas State's drive consisted of only running the ball. Only running the ball, in which there was like this fake reverse thing where the wide receiver went to the quarterback and they did this whole fake reversing that went for like 35 yards, and then they continued to drive the ball in through running the ball. Avery Johnson was struggling to pass the ball in the first half of this football game. Iowa State's drive, on the other hand, they got the ball in relatively good field position. Rucko Becht, 1, 2, 3 passes, touchdown, and all of them were pretty good passes. The first one was a gimme. He was pretty open, but, something that Rucko Becht has struggled on is actually getting the ball to his intended target. He's been missing throws, throwing them off target multiple times where the ball could have been intercepted because he's throwing it too high and it gets popped up in the air, but thankfully it hasn't happened. But on this drive, he delivered a rifle for a good 12, 13-yard slant and then a deep shot to the end zone to lead to the first points. Kansas State, on the other hand, it was a big run and then 2 Avery Johnson runs for a touchdown, which has been Avery Johnson's specialty, is running the ball. Takeaway for me, or let's go through the stats of the game. Both teams have converted a fourth down. And there's been 5 turnovers. I said 6. There's been 5. I would almost count the Kansas State one with the intentional grounding as a turnover, but we won't for the sake of, it's not. Basically, it's literally just not. But there has been a total of 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles, and a failed fourth down conversion. Here's the takeaway. Kansas State has 154 yards, and they're getting the ball out of the second half. Kansas State, if they can patch up their mistakes and start playing better, they can take this football game away. Iowa State failed to score points when they literally just should have. They are missing out on 10 points right now because of a fumble on the 1-yard line and a missed field goal. Kansas State is missing out on 3 points right now because they were in field goal range and then an intentional grounding kicked them out. Iowa State hasn't really had a better first half. They've just gotten better position turnovers. That's it. Iowa State has 101 total yards. 78 of that is passing. 23 is rushing. Their rushing attack is seriously struggling big time right now. Kansas State has 154 yards, 60 passing, 94 rushing. Their running game has really been carrying him, and their passing game was only improving because of the drive that Kansas State had right before halftime. They got 3 good passes to bring them way within field goal range, and then Avery Johnson committed the intentional grounding, which took off 15 of that. There was a point in the game where Avery Johnson's only completion was to an offensive lineman for -4 yards. That was it. He has been completely awful through the air. He started to show some flashes there at the end, but then he committed his intentional grounding. I just don't see how he's the answer. I mean, this is how he played last year. This is how he's playing now. Rucko Becht, I would say, he's been doing all right. He's very inconsistent. He completes a pass, then he overthrows his target, or he misses, or he gets hit in the backfield or something. He's had some good rushes, but I mean, a big takeaway in all this, and I really don't want to use an excuse, but a big takeaway is that it is absolutely pouring, or it's like pouring on and off. The field is super wet. The ball is wet. But these teams, you live in Kansas and Iowa. It's gonna get wet. It's going to start snowing at some point. You have to learn how to play in these conditions. Yes, rain is going to affect a football game no matter what, but you're letting it affect you to the point where you can't complete a pass. There was only a couple drives where passes were actually completed. Iowa State in the entire first half of football is 6 for 15. Kansas State is 9 for 14. And pretty much on both of those completions, both of those overall completion to drop ratio, 3 of those passes were completed consecutively for both teams. You have to figure out a way to turn this thing up offensively. You have to figure out a way. Iowa State, big takeaway, is 1 for 7 on third down efficiency. Kansas State is 4 for 9. However, Iowa State has more overall first downs than Kansas State. Kansas State has 28 yards of penalties. Iowa State has 5. Both teams are completely split in possession of the ball, and it is 7-7. These teams need to patch up their mistakes right now. One could argue that these are just better defenses. I would say no. I think they are just making horrible mistakes right now, not protecting the football when they need to, and you can see a final score of 17-14. I would still say, this game is going to turn up a little bit. Halftime speech, maybe the skies will clear a bit, not really looking too likely. But I think this game is going to start turning up a bit. There has also been an extraordinary amount of dropped passes that are thrown right to their target and just dropped. Again, wet football, but still, you have to be better than that. You have to be better. And it's not like these drop passes have been super contested passes. They've actually been super open, and they're just dropping it for most of the part. There have been some contested plays, but I would just call those good defensive plays. But, seriously, both of these teams, they do not look like Big 12 contenders as of right now. I think Iowa State has looked better offensively than Kansas State has. Really, Avery Johnson's passes were nothing special. They were out routes, giving plenty of space by the defenders in quick play, whatever it's called, like the 2-minute drill. I feel like if everybody just played like the 2-minute drill was how the game was played, you'd get exhausted, but it would absolutely torch defenses because every single time a team enters the 2-minute drill, they torch the defense. They absolutely fry them. And I don't know if Rocco Becht can play like he did on his scoring drive. And also, just like the fumble by the running back was, I would say, 75% running back's fault, 25% Becht. Why do you need to throw the ball all the way up there? Why can't you just pitch it right to him? It's simple. You don't got to sling the thing at him. You got to understand, even though, you got to be better than dropping the ball because it's wet, you got to also be aware of the fact that the ball is wet. It's a pitch play. Don't give him anything. And he gave him a horrible, horrible momentum shift turnover. It's been constant momentum shifts. And, at this point, a turnover ain't even a momentum shift anymore. It's just a guarantee. I really hope these two teams can turn it up. I really hope so. I still think Iowa State is going to pull through and win this thing, although Kansas State does get the ball out of the second half. What will change my opinion is if Kansas State scores any amount of points out of the second half. If they do that straight out of the gates is what I mean. Not out of the second half, straight out of the second half. If they do that, I think Kansas State will get the edge over Iowa State. And if they don't and Iowa State scores first, I think Kansas State might be a little cooked. I think they might be a little cooked. After all, this is really looking like how the game was played last year, except less turnovers, obviously, but definitely a lot of mistakes, especially by Kansas State. Both these teams got to patch things up. I'm sure I'm saying most of the same things that their coaches are saying in the locker room right now, but that is the halftime report. of this game. I hope you guys are enjoying this game as much as I am. Even though it has been a shit show, it has been entertaining to watch the fumbles, so at least they're getting good TV. It's been very fun watching the field swap back and forth, not because of punts, but because they're straight up turning the ball over. It's entertaining. But let me know what you guys think of these teams in the comments down below. Like and subscribe and help a comment. Always helps. That's all for me. Adios.